How to gear up your alts in Shadowlands endgame, early endgame. In this video I'm happy to present to you what appears to be a complete, casual-friendly, solo gearing guide for any casual player who does not play in an organized fashion, who does not raid normal, heroic, mythic, who does not have a group of friends who will just wait for Mythic Plus dungeons to be unlocked and will start spamming those. I'm talking to my people, to people who most welcome on this channel just like everyone else, but this is a home for casual solo players. This video is for you, my friends. Thank you for your support, and please subscribe if you haven't already and enjoy the guide. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I'm your host Gyro. Welcome back to another gearing guide for Shadowlands. Please make sure that you use the content, the table of contents in the description of the video, the timeline of the video. You can drag the cursor and get to the point that is of most interest to you, because these guides generally are loosely scripted and can get quite lengthy. Let's get started straight away. So when you're doing 60, you should be somewhere between item level 135 and 145. Depending on the amount of crafting that you've done and the group content experience that you've had, such as dungeoning experience on the way to 60. Now a lot of gearing will start happening sequentially, as one quest following another, and a bunch of rewards will just be heading your way as long as you are progressing in the expected way, unlocking your covenant and following the tail end of the campaign, if you are deciding to level through campaign rather than Threads of Fate system. I think even though this sequential approach does not require much guidance, it is still worth talking about it right now, because it tells you exactly what to expect and maybe kind of eases out your expectations on what gear you do not need to seek to obtain through other sources, such as spending substantial amounts of money to buy it on the auction house, because you would know that something is heading your way fairly shortly and it's gonna be worth your while anyway. So level 60 blue quest rewards and world quest rewards are going to be, without a doubt, first most important source of gear that you will see straight away. Those will be item level 146, at least in my case they were. Those rewards can come from multiple sources, such as the remaining campaign quests that I've mentioned to you already. If you are not doing Threads of Fate system of alts leveling, the campaign continues after level 60 through Revendreth, and there would be still some outstanding quests that will give you a couple of blue rewards that will be very nice for a completely naked alt. As far as world quest rewards are concerned, they are not going to be as plentiful as we've gotten used to them in BFA and even Legion, and it's not something that I would very heavily rely on, but they are mentioned here for completeness purposes, because it would be still quite nice maybe to get one or two things here and there as you ding 60 and start looking around the world map. Mission table rewards have to be mentioned because mission table is back in Shadowlands and hasn't changed much other than providing gear. I could be wrong, but I didn't invest too much time into this boring system in BFA, and I do remember that obviously in Warlords of Draenor and in Legion the mission table missions used to provide some sort of gear, some sort of kind of catch-up little blues here and there, and now I can see that in Shadowlands this system seems to be revamped in a way to include those rewards. But because of how boring and underwhelming its unchanged design is of the mission table, I mean, as I've stated in a video that either has already been released or is just yet to be released on the channel, depending on how I'll end up scheduling it, I am not a fan of mission table. So here, once again, it's just recognized and included as a meh source of gear that I simply had to include, yeah? If you can be bothered spending anima on sending your followers on these mind-numbingly unimpactful missions to level the followers up, and then as a result to be able to tackle higher level missions that reward gear, and I'm being told soul ash as well as one of the materials that are very much needed to craft legendaries, then, well, you can do it. While my Demon Hunter alt actually surged ahead in terms of the endgame progression and gearing compared to my Warlock, who was supposed to be a main, currently this Demon Hunter is around item level 160, This warlock, who is shown in the footage in the background, is only 143. So yes, I have some catching up to do there. The rewards that I can see on the mission table right now for my warlock are only shown as pretty low, item level 148. So because of the low item level of the warlock, I cannot completely 100% confirm to you whether or not the mission table rewards are actually scaling with your item level of the character. If they don't, then I would dare say that the mission table revamp system is even more garbage than I have expressed in my mission table impressions video. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it already, sorry by the way. I can only hope that they do scale up, and very much welcome your contribution in the comment section below this video. Please, as always, let me know, and the other viewers, if I'm missing something and if you have actually spent a lot more time than I ever will on mission table and followers leveling, as well as gearing up yourself, already being of a much higher level, so that you can confirm to all of us whether or not mission table rewards are actually scaling or are they remaining blue garbage. Then we'll talk about Threads of Fate helping a zone quest rewards. So these naturally are only available to those characters and alts, naturally not mains, that chose to level through Shadowlands to level 60 with Threads of Fate system, which is an adventure system that I've reviewed in a recent video. If you decided to go through Threads of Fate and fill up those very slowly filling up bars that you need to fill up when you help zone by doing variety of activities in them, then you will be getting some sort of blue rewards at the end of the journey. So those helping quests, they are helping Bastion, helping Maldraxxus, they're very long and slow fill up bar quests that yield somewhere in the ballpark of 70k experience for completion, and as I said, a chest with a blue reward. Those rewards differed depending on at what level you'd cash those in, obviously, but at level 59 they gave me, if I'm not mistaken, an item level 138, and in another case an item level 140 weapons, which was not bad. Crafting is a must in Shadowlands. You are really robbing yourself of early and late legendary worthy gear if you decided not to do any crafting profession for yourself. There's just no reason for you not to do it, and crafting is way too useful to be ignored in Shadowlands. This is my opinion at the very least. It gives you a very easy source of item level 151 gear straight up as you arrive at level 60. The experience it's fairly easy to level up the profession. The experience you gain, the level up points that you gain as you level up the profession is fairly easy, not particularly hard, and that gear, 151 gear, is very cheap to make. It is definitely the easiest gear gap filling method, especially if you have several alts, and you guessed it, the more alts you have, the easier it gets. As one would say, for example, being a leather walker and skinner, another alt would be a miner and jewel crafter, third one would be a scribe and a herbalist. You get the point. The first one will always, the first alt will always have most gaps in the gear, such as my leather worker skinner alt, the demon hunter, doesn't have anyone who would make them any rings, necklaces or say trinkets, right? Then inevitably you'd be looking at the rewards for establishment of your covenant. There will be some quests, they're sequential, they're very much on your way and almost inevitable. I cannot say whether you get the same level of rewards, the same number of rewards for establishing any covenant. I don't know if that's a completely parallel kind of mirror quest lines for any covenant, but I've definitely tried a couple of them and I've received a few really nice pieces. As you go through your first few quests at level 60, establishing that covenant, you should get a couple of 155 pieces of gear. I've gotten a weapon and the first covenant blue set piece, which was a very nice welcome to the end game from Kyrian to my demon hunter. Then entering Torghast for the very first time sends you on a quest from Venari in the Moor, and you will get it again as an inevitable kind of quest on your way to glory of the end game, and a nice reward of item level 161 that any semi-naked fresh alt would be super happy to get, so that's something that's on your way. Around that time, and it could be done obviously not very sequentially, but in parallel to every activity I was just describing to you, you would be inevitably queuing for some normal dungeons. While I would not call it an absolute priority, it absolutely would not hurt queuing for some, because normal dungeons would give you ilevel 158 loot, which is better than nothing, and even better than blue crafted gear at the entry level at 60, not ranked up in any way. As I said, that gear, the crafted gear, is only item level 151. Why are we queuing for normals? Well, because eventually we want to queue for heroics. Blizzard has gone with a very linear system of gear progression design in Shadowlands, as it kind of was almost classic approach, I would say, where you were intended to start with normals, you were intended to go into heroics, and in a few previous expansions such as BFA and Legion, in many cases with some alternative sources of gear, we were able to almost skip the heroics in many ways. We were able to jump straight higher if we needed to. So to queue for heroics you would need to push your item level a little higher, and in order to get that heroic item level 171 gear, which is very nice and does feel actually quite rewarding and like a substantial upgrade at this stage for sure, at least to me. To a casual kind of mind, to a casual perception, I have to validate this for you guys. I have to confirm that it was actually quite nice. It was quite nice to get that gear, even though it's not epics, it's actually blues. To queue for heroics, you need to have your average item level at item level 155, which should be definitely attainable between running normals, getting some zone defense quest rewards, and having a couple of odd higher item level pieces on you that I've just described to you through other sources that you get when you ding 60 and start unlocking your Covenant. Once you've outgeared normals and heroics, naturally your progression will go to mythics, base level mythics, mythics plus 0. I am not high item level enough yet to try mythics in Shadowlands, but the general social system of fitting into mythics seems to be unchanged from the times of BFA. So we can go into a few educated assumptions here, I suppose. Mythics will drop item level 184, very nice, how much? Gear, and there is no hard entry level, as those groups are formed manually, as you know. Please refer to my earlier video talking about how to tank mythics, and mainly how to deal with the social issues by forming your own groups and shaping your own destiny, so to speak. Without a doubt, it would be much easier for tanks and healers. And before you ask, yes, I have plans to release tanking guide videos for each dungeon once I'm in Mythics range, item level range, and even possibly in Heroics if I run out of patience and feel like you guys are interested to see those videos, and like I need to start talking to you about those. Then obviously and inevitably we will come to the point of queuing for LFR. Actually, funnily enough, I am looking forward to this in Shadowlands simply because of how linear, as I already mentioned, this personal gearing progression system seems to be designed as in Shadowlands. The LFR wings were not open at the time of recording of this video, and none of my alts are high level, item level enough yet to queue for LFR wings anyway, but I'm not very far from that point. Castle Nathria opens on December 15th. You would need to be item level 170 to queue for Castle Nathria, and you will get some very decent gear from there, very comparable to baseline mythics. So by the look of it, if we look at the loot kind of registry in the game that you can take a look at yourself, Soulbind conduits, which will be dropping from the bosses there presumably, are item level 184, same as item level of mythic baseline gear, and the drops from the bosses in LFR are shown as 187. So tiny bit even over the baseline mythic, which is very interesting, a tiny bit higher, which I actually think is a cute, not impactful, no, but cute little differentiation that Blizzard, probably deliberately, because everything they do is deliberate, they have indicated that queuing for LFR, enduring and showing all the patience of dealing with randos, etc., is kind of a little bit more of an effort than setting up a quick mythic group for yourself. I don't know, but that's what it looks like to me, and I am actually quite reasonably excited about this. The last two bosses of LFR of Castle Nathria at the very least will drop higher item level 194 loot, which is nice, very nice, without us having too many other choices as casuals to get higher item level gear, but we'll have to wait until LFR Wing 4 opens on February the 2nd next year to get a chance at those relatively juicy drops. Then I probably should mention to you also a special quest, well, it appears to be special to my eyes right now, which is called the Tribute of Duty Bound, which you will get in your Covenant Sanctum. It looks like a weekly, but I could be wrong because we're still very fresh to Shadowlands endgame. I very much welcome, as always, your comments below. Please correct me if I'm wrong. The quest that I saw an example of was called Challenges in Maldraxxus, and it looked like it was giving an epic rather than a blue tribute chest with gear in it. I was actually quite excited and hopeful that it would be a higher item level reward, and maybe I was just unlucky, but I basically chose a very simple option for myself as a tank. I ran a Plaguefall dungeon, and from that epic tribute of the Duty Bound, I actually got fairly underwhelming, I'll be honest, fairly underwhelming, but 2 blue items, an item level 155 and an item level 158 conduit. So it was not even a heroic level 171 piece of gear, which is probably the bare minimum that would have made me somewhat a little bit more excited. But I got very lucky and I received a legendary memory that is used for legendary crafting. So we will now very smoothly and very briefly talk about legendary crafting as a prominent, wonderful and very much looked forward to by a lot of players system of gearing in Shadowlands. So you need those legendary memories to enable legendary crafting. Legendary memory is something that restores a memory of a rune crafter who is an NPC in Torghast. It is solo friendly content, which is the best thing about it, right? And it relies very heavily on crafting and is dramatically cheaper for crafters. So you don't have to be a crafter yourself to be able to create a legendary, but at the same time it's dramatically cheaper for crafters because you can collect and create a lot of materials yourself rather than buying those at extortionist prices on the auction house, at the very least at the start of Shadowlands content. All of this, guys and girls, will be reviewed in great detail in a separate video because I think the system deserves justice, and I'm sure a lot of you would love to hear about all the steps involved in basically unlocking the legendary crafting system and basically crafting your very first legendary. And my personal experience, spoiler alert, and kind of as a little preview, my personal experience was quite resource and gold wasteful because I simply made wrong choices. So that video is also going to guide you a little bit in that. But here, for completeness purposes and as promised, I will just say that this gives you an access to a potential item level 190 loot right now, obtainable solo. This is quite exciting. Finally, this is a point number 15, believe it or not, in this kind of little gearing guide for you in Shadowlands. I'm gonna mention rare treasures and quite specifically one item that drew my attention particularly and draws attention of a lot of players, which is called Sorrowbane. Shadowlands has a lot of rare spawns and hidden treasures all over the place. That's a fact, you probably discovered it yourself on many occasions as leveling person right now. I've had limited exposure to those at the moment of preparing and publishing this video, so please take this limited overview as what it's intended to be, just as an honorable mention, really, here for your awareness purposes mainly. So rare drops and most treasures appear to be mostly low item level, throwaway kind of blue gear that you'd benefit from only when finding those at level, while you level through campaign, while you level through quests, through zones as they intended to be. Bastion, Maldraxxus, then Ardenweald, then Revendreth. So campaign takes you through those, that's when you're intended to discover those treasures, by the looks of it, to me. So Maldraxxus zone is particularly beloved and particularly known for quite a few, many rare spawns that people are now in the endgame mostly hunting for mounts. We can have a separate video where I could talk to you about those. Let me know in the comments down below if you'd like my version, my take on hunting for mounts and doing that treasure hunt type of stuff in Shadowlands video. But I know that a lot of creators who are a lot more, well, I don't judge, but they're a lot more clickbait savvy, let's call it, than me, they have already pumped out that content. So I kind of feel like I'm a little late to the party, and I don't want to bother to outshine them, specifically because you probably found that information for yourself if you were after it. I don't know, I'm on a fence about this one, and I'm not a mount collector, which is the main issue, because if I was doing it for myself, then I'd record a video for you, no problem. But do speak to me in the comments down below, and I'll listen to your requests and suggestions as always. So one particular treasure that I am very interested personally in, and will be covering in a separate video, is Sorrowbane. It's a two-handed sword of item level 180. That's achievable through series of secret kind of pursuit of treasures, like a treasure hunt type of steps that you can do and fulfill solo, and can get a very juicy, nice piece of very high item level gear by these standards at the moment of publishing of this video, and it would be very, very welcome by any two-handed sword wielding class, and would be very much worth anyone's time really to equip their two-hander Death Knight or Retribution Paladin or a warrior with something as awesome as that. This is what I'm going to be covering for sure at one point in not so distant future. And this is the end of the gearing guide for now, my friends. So as solo casual players who are currently exposed to the content available to us in Shadowlands, it's early Shadowlands, Shadowlands just launched in case you're watching this video far into the future. This guide should push my item level, should push your item level slowly towards item level 190 by the looks of it, with everything included, legendary, with crafting, with pushing mythics. And I hope that we will be able to reconvene in a few months and maybe have an addendum, addition of sorts to this video, maybe with some corrections and additional sources of gear. I would love to review this video for you and do an updated version in a while, because I'm very much into it. I have a lot of alts, as you know if you've been following my channel for quite some time, and I'm very interested to continue communicating with you and sharing my findings on the best ways to gear, as well as welcoming, as always, your feedback, your subscriptions, your support to the channel has been amazing. That's what brought us here, that's what still keeps me motivated. So please show your support by liking the video, telling YouTube that you enjoy my content, so that it can show it to more people and more people come to our little campfire in the woods of Shadowlands, because the more of us here, the merrier. Talk to me in the comments down below. I always respond to all non-trolly people. Thanks very much for tuning in today. I hope you did enjoy the guide. Talk to you soon. See you later.